Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the F and G show once again over a glass of wine.
Yes.
We haven't broke no glasses. Okay, I'm sure everybody out there is familiar with redlining. If you don't know, we're going to explain to you what redlining is. Well, let me give you my initial and meaning of redlining. You know redlining. You redline the neighborhood to keep black people out. Okay, that's what redlining is. I think the way it is now, you redline a neighborhood. But let's see what the redlining is all about. Here's what redlining is all about, ladies and gentlemen. It's the practice of marking a red line on a map to delineate an area where banks would not make loans. Following me so far? Most frequently, discriminated areas were black inner city neighborhoods. Now you can understand what redlining is. The term redlining was coined in the late 1960s by John McKnight, a sociologist and community activist. It refers to the denial of services or selectively raised prices to residents of certain areas based on racial and ethnic composition of those areas. Banks would often lend to lower income whites, but not middle and upper income blacks. This practice has been going on for centuries and still is today. Redlining today is illegal. Don't you pay attention to that? It is maybe illegal, but it is still being practiced. And a component of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 speaks against racial geographical discrimination. Now, this is going on a lot today. I don't care if it's illegal, but they always find ways around the law and redlining. And you don't know if you're being charged more for your house as a white person down the street in the same neighborhood. You don't know that because you're not going to go ask them how much you pay for yours, how much you pay for yours. So redlining is still being practiced, and it is unfortunate, but this is the same kind of stuff they do with redistricting. So you get the redlining and redistricting. Redistricting is another process where you draw neighborhoods up. So only Republicans win in the elections and Democrats do not. So what do you have to say about redlining?
Well, I have a personal story I'll say about redlining. And I'll put the bank on blast. So I'll tell you this much.
Put the bank on blast.
When it comes to redlining, I remember my credit score was down to like 500. And I had try to get a car loan through them. And you got to put your address in and everything. And I was in a certain area. Just moved to Huntsville, Alabama. I'll tell you that. And we was living in a certain area. Went to get another car, and when they pulled the credit report and everything, it had 500 score. The bank was like, "Man, if you could have just did a little bit more and get your credit score at least up to 600, we could give you some. It'd be high interest rate, but we can't front." Now at that time I was like, all right, cool, And I went ahead and moved on.
All right.
Went to another bank and got the car. So some years later I moved to Huntsville, Alabama, moved to the area I'm in now. Credit score like 740, 750 at this point. Owe nobody any money. Credit is lovely now. Everything's nice. Only thing I have is, like the automobile and a car note and everything. No credit card debt, no student loan debt, none of that stuff. I'm all right. I go back to that same bank thinking, since all my money comes to this bank, not all my money, but the money that me and my wife work,
right,
goes to this bank, so they see what we get. And I have a little money that I'm getting elsewhere, but I don't keep all my money in the same bank. So I go to them and I'm like, all right, man, I want to get this loan to go get this car. They're like, I'm sorry, man, you can't get it. I'm like, what's the problem? You know what they told me?
What?
They said, I got a 745, 750 score. They're like, well, you do have a score of 750. Yeah, but no, she said, you do have a score of 752. And I thought it was between 45 and 50 because I do the Credit Karma. She said, "Oh, yours come up at 752, but we can't approve you because you haven't been at 752 that long." So I was like, no. What does that say that I can't get? You run the credit wherever it's at, because when I had like 500 scored, y'all thing was I need at least 600. I surpassed that, and they still wouldn't give it to me.
So what was going on there?
So like, all right, man, forget y'all. So I'm like, I'm done with them. So I said, I'm closing my accounts. They was like, what? I'm closing my account. Give me my $2, and I'll close this account. And so they was like, oh, well, Mr. Moore, we hate to see you leave. No, you don't.
Because if you did, you would have gave him, you would have approved the loan for him.
Exactly. So I went ahead and closed the accounts. Boom, left. And I already paid off 2 cars through them. High interest rate came in. Okay, give me my title now. I done paid you off. None of that, I'm like 100 plus points higher than when they said I needed to be. So I left. So I go to this car dealership one time, and it's like late. They try to keep you there. They said, we'll run it. You got a nice credit score. Your money's nice. You ain't got to put nothing down. We'll just run it. So they ran it. Lo and behold, I get the lowest interest rate that I ever received from a bank.
This is at a new bank.
With a car.
This is a new bank he was at.
And the bank that assured that was Redstone. So I was like, oh, okay, right. So they're like, oh yeah, you got a real good interest rate, And they ran it all down. So I'm like, all right. Now this is like a Thursday. So Friday come, I call, I say, hey man, I need the paperwork so I go get the registration stuff for the car. I'm gonna get the tags for the car. They said, we're waiting for the bank to get back to us. Nothing. Monday comes, I get a call. They say, well, when they ran everything, they need proof of income and all this stuff. And I'm like, why they need all that? I gave y'all that the night when I did it. It's like, yeah, what they just want to do. Would you know Redstone, after the computer, they said, well, when you run it in, the computer will pick it up and everything. But a human person sat down and said, no. So they denied what they said that they was giving me.
What did you do with that after that?
I said, you ain't getting the car back. I said, I'll tell you what. I'll bring you your car back. You give me my car back. But I knew they couldn't do it because once you trade cars in, they don't never sell them at the same dealership. They send them away.
Right.
It's been over the weekend, so the car trade in is gone now. So I'm like, bring my car back, and I'll give you your car back. They said, well, can you I'm not putting anything down. Because when you ran my stuff, the computer said I was good. When a person came in there and looked at what's happening, they said, no, we're not going to lend him. Now, this is Redstone Federal Credit Union. Same bank I've been banking with since I was in college. Back in 1989, I had an account with Redstone. So they seen my growth go down and then, oh, he's doing well now. And they still treated me that way.
Banks are notorious for discriminating against black lenders, black persons who want to do lending. It's a notorious problem.
Yeah. And this is a credit union.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people say they like Redstone. I hate them.
Yeah.
I took all my money out of there, closed everything I got. You ain't got to deal. And they send stuff to me. I tell them, quit sending stuff to my house. We don't have no more dealings. Save your money. Save the trees. Keep it to yourself. So that's my redlining story right there. Because no one could tell me why they denied me. No one could tell me why I did what they say I had to do to get a loan and still couldn't get a loan. So it's 2 infractions against this.
Yeah.
And then the computer took just the information. And the computer just takes information and computes it and put it right back out. This guy's good. Give him the loan at this interest rate. But when a human came in to look at it, Gary Moore?
We know how this goes.
He lives so-and-so?
Yeah.
Black guy? I don't even know if it had to do with black, but I'm just saying he ain't give it to me.
I'm going to estimate at 90% it was because you were black and he decided, I'm not going to give him that today. He don't want. I'm not giving it to him. I don't care what he say. I ain't just giving it to him. Banks are notorious for doing that to black people all the time. Or they say if you want it, you're just going to have to pay 35% interest.
Yeah.
You
really want it.
You really, really want it. You're going to pay 35% interest, and then you're in the hole for the next 100 years, and your great-great-grandchildren have to pay it off.
And And
They
you
get
want
us
to know
all
what
the
happened?
time.
I'll tell you. I ended up going to Navy Federal.
Did they treat you better?
And they took it on, and it's like, you find the thing is, with Navy Federal, and I'll let everybody know, that is the best bank credit union you can get with Navy Federal.
Navy Federal Credit Union? Oh,
I've been with them through 2 divorces, bankruptcy, all that stuff. You know, and still came back, proved myself, and they treated me for what my money was worth. Not for who I look on the outside, anything like that.
What color he is, yeah.
So, Navy Federal, thumbs up.
Kudos to the Navy Federal Credit Union. Okay.
Redstone, thumbs down. Now they might be good for some people, but they weren't good for me.
I'm with Redstone, but you know.
That's why. See? I
But
knew
I
something
don't
was
know.
wrong with him. I knew something was wrong with him. No,
But but that redlining is a serious matter. It has cost African Americans millions of dollars in extra fees and interest rates down through the centuries. Now, I'm gonna explain this a little bit before we go. So, when the institution of slavery ended, the system had to trigger a way to make money to since physical slavery, or chattel slavery as it's so called, ended. They had to figure out a new way to enslave. So it's called financial slavery. So when you have to pay 25, 30% interest because you're black, that's financial slavery, because they got you for the rest of your life. And you know that somebody that's living right next to you getting 8% interest and you getting 25% interest, well, you're going to be on the hook for 50 years and they're going to be on the hook for 20. And you're paying lots of money, wealth that could be going to your children that they will never see for their entire lives because of what you had to sign up for. So remember, these are the kind of tricks being played in redlining, redistricting, and with banks redlining you as a credit risk when you're not really a credit risk, when you know you can pay.
Yeah, if you really want to know what kind of bank you're dealing with, tell them to write down everything that you need to do in order to be in business with them, to get some money from them. And if they won't do that, you don't want to deal with them.
Right.
If they do that, hold them to their word, do what's on that paper, go back to them and say, let's begin. I did that with my house. They didn't think I could do it. And I said, well, it ain't going to hurt you none. And when I came back and did it, they couldn't believe it. And I said, that's why you wait to see a person's actions,
right,
before you try to make a decision on what's going on. You told me what you needed. I gave you what you needed. Now, where are the keys to the home?
Right. Because back in the 1920s and 30s, banking was a little bit simpler. It was more gentlemen's agreements. You go in, you talk to the banker. They know you, you know them, and it was kind of a relationship, and you shake hands, and you get the loan and all that stuff. Now, black people had to go into the bank and do the same thing, but they didn't know the banker. The white folks knew the banker, but the black people didn't know the banker. Yeah, but we may have to charge you a little more. And in order for them to get the house, or whatever house they were trying to get, they had to pay a little more. So it was almost like bank loans and agreements were made based on whether you were liked or not, and based on what color you were.
Playing on your desperation.
Yeah, playing on your desperation.
Don't be desperate, folks.
So,
but that's all I got to say on that.
Yeah. So remember, redlining is not a good thing for anybody.
Exactly. Because they could get some white folks too, depending on if they get behind that line and not know. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the F&G Show.
The F&G Show.
Over a glass of wine.